Peace, family. What's up? I am finally going live again for another episode of Raw and Uncut with Muriel, where I go live for 30 minutes and talk completely unfiltered about a particular subject that either somebody wanted me to talk about or that I just want to talk about just because. And today I'm going to be talking about capitalism. So let me actually set my timer because I want to be clear about how much energy I'm putting into this. It's about personal boundaries, y'all. All right. So capitalism. There's a lot that we can say. I want you to consider what your first thought when you hear the word capitalism is. Do you think about people? Do you think about events? Combination of both. I feel like most people, when they hear capitalism, they think about money and they probably think about labor. And, you know, I've been seeing on social media a lot more people talking about capitalism and its relationship to colonialism and colonization in general. And, today we can definitely, if you're somebody who likes to analyze these things, we can easily see the connection between capitalism and colonization. Colonization, for the most part, if not completely, was about gaining power over, gaining control over by the theft and exploitation of resources and people. And not much has changed. It's evolved, right? We have the modernization of capitalism and the modernization of colonization. We even have words for it like neo-colonialism. But the strategy and the purpose and the intention is in general the same. So I titled this live, Why I Choose to Be a Capitalist. The reason I'm talking about this is because, like I said, on social media, I'm seeing a lot of people condemn capitalism. Capitalism is to blame for, all these things. And, there's this one post on this activist page that I saw that's of this like character laying down on a bench. And it's like, I'm not lazy. I'm just not going to make money or I'm not going to like make a capitalism rich, or I'm not going to make a capitalist rich, or something like that. And, we have got to be critical of this narrative of, we're just going to completely condemn capitalism and don't want anything to do with capitalism. And capitalism is the enemy. And capitalism is the source of all of our problems because it's linked to colonization and colonialism and white supremacy. A lot of that is true. And if you're in the US and if you're in any metropolis city, any place with a currency, an established currency that's traded on the exchange, any place with any type of legislative, system, any place that's established with infrastructure in that way, I can damn near guarantee you are in a capitalist society, a capitalistic society. And by virtue of being in that society, you are participating and perpetuating capitalism. If you're in the United States, I don't understand why people in the US condemn capitalism, because we participate in it in every single day. If you're going to condemn capitalism, then I hope you're preparing for civil war, maybe silver war too. But if you're going to condemn capitalism and you in the US, you living and feeding off of and benefiting from a capitalistic society, you got to go to work because you got to pay bills, and you driving and you using public transportation, you getting benefits, you getting food stamps, whatever you're doing. You are living and participating in a capitalistic society. So if you're going to condemn it, then let's really break that down. You've got to be planning and talking about having a civil war with people who are capitalists, with the government, right? Because there's a whole force, a whole tide, a whole wave of people that are the majority, actually, who benefit from and perpetuate and don't want to get rid of capitalism. I feel like the people who want to get rid of capitalism are definitely the minority. And so let's break down what capitalist even really means. The etymology of it. I'm gonna actually look it up on the phone. Etymology of capitalist. And pay attention to the ist. When something has an ist at the end, it tends to denote like expertise, right? So you have a pianist, you have a scientist, you have what other ist words? Okay, let me go to the etymology.com. You have even a racist, right? they have mastered the art or the sickness of, judging someone by their skin color. So, the ist denotes mastery. So capitalist, I'm looking at the online etymology dictionary, and it says a man of money. This is from 1791. A man of money who has large property employed in business. A coinage of the revolution and a term of reproach. See capital and ist. So let's see if it breaks it down. Capitalist, conservative advocate of capitalism, person who invests in capital, who invests capital in a business, especially a large business. So, when I think of capitalist, knowing the definition of ist and knowing the definition of capital, I think of somebody who has mastered the art of money, who has mastered the art of commerce, who has mastered economy. We even have economist, right? So if I'm living in a capitalistic society, why wouldn't I want to master the rules or the game that's played in that particular society, even if the end goal is to transcend it? I think this is a way we, as whatever we want to call ourselves, people of color, melanated people, descendants of enslaved people, descendants of immigrants, or just immigrants in general, asylum seekers, anybody who has had to escape a human atrocity or overcome a human atrocity. There are a lot of very real barriers. However, we cannot use societal barriers. We need to stop internalizing societal barriers and believing them, and giving them power. I can't tell you, I've been focusing and prioritizing my financial education really since COVID. But fortunately, I grew up in a family that values and taught me about investing and money management and whatnot. So I have that perspective. But for the past 2-3 years, actually since 2017, that's when I really started getting into, okay, let me go ahead and get a mutual fund. I don't have time to manage my own portfolio, so let me get a mutual fund and just have something. And then it just kind of increased from there. But I realized there is so much information at our fingertips. YouTube, if you're watching this, you're on YouTube right now. How much do you know about finance? How much do you know about investing? What do you know about compounding? The law of 72, compound interest. How much do you know about how to use and leverage credit? I pretty much didn't know anything, even though I came from a decent foundation relatively. I didn't know anything until I actually put the effort in to expose myself to different ways of thinking about money, read books, listened to audiobooks, watched YouTubes, and ultimately placed myself in networks of people who have been capitalists, whether it's real estate, foreign exchange, stock exchange, binary options, all these things, and started to learn the language and understand the mindset. So it was my choice to expose myself to that. And in exposing myself to that, what I learned is we're limitless when it comes to money. There is enough money and it's accessible to everyone. If you have internet, if you have a phone, you can make money and you can make unlimited amounts of money. The biggest barrier, from what I've seen so far, is people's awareness, people's psyche, right? There can be conditioning, that scarcity mindset that I mentioned earlier. That's a conditioning that like literally puts a screen, a smoke screen in front of people's ability to be aware and conscious of and be creative and innovative in how they make money. We might have internalized a narrative that's like, oh, well, I have to bust my ass. I have to work super hard to make money. And that's like, there's merit in that. Like that's a good thing. And a lot of descendants of enslaved, a lot of descendants of migrants, have that mentality of like, oh, let me work hard. And, that's merit in that. I'm a hardworking person and that's a good thing. And I'm sacrificing and, I sacrifice for my family. And I mean, I get it. There's something that happens to our ego when we feel like we're setting ourselves up to be a martyr because we're just self-sacrificing and self-sacrificing and self-sacrificing. But what happens? We die earlier than we need to. We get hypertension. We don't have a good diet. We're not getting enough sleep. So our body deteriorates. And I'm telling y'all, it is just not necessary. It's just not necessary. I have to say, it's really freaking frustrating to be watching people out here struggling, people that look like me, medicine people, artists, activists, writers out here struggling, but complaining, complaining. And I'm like, what's the plan here? Either it's civil war or you put up or shut up, figure it out. Figure out how the system works. At this point, there's no excuse. There are way too many resources on the internet for us not to know how to make money for our entire communities, for us not to know how to feed our entire communities, for us not to know how to educate our entire communities. We don't need their schools. We don't need their banks. We don't need I just want to see our people embody the fullest and creative and innovative level that we are. I feel like we're barely scratching the surface because we're so focused on what somebody is keeping from us. We're so focused on what the society is taking away from us. But we're not recognizing that we are way more powerful than anybody who could ever want to hurt us or harm us or take anything away from us or put a block on something. Our ability to buy a home, our ability to buy land, our ability to do anything. The only reason why there's so much energy in society to put a brown person down is because there is an unconscious and or conscious recognition of how powerful we really are. And the only group of people who doesn't seem to know that are the majority of brown people. Because we so focus on what's happening externally. We're not recognizing that, we don't need to live off of GoFundMe campaigns for the rest of our lives because we're condemning capitalism. Is that really your plan? You're just not going to work and you're going to keep asking people who do work for money? That makes no sense. That makes no sense. If somebody watches this and that's your strategy, I want to understand, like, what is the thought process behind that? I can't tell you how many activists and medicine people I see who condemn capitalism, but then have a GoFundMe campaign because they can't afford shit. They can't afford to take a vacation. They can't afford to do that project or that research project that they want to do. They can't afford to do that documentary. But in the end of the day, they're going to make it happen, but they're not going to make it happen without capital, period. Or without something that capitalism didn't impact. They're not going to be able to do that. Show me how. If you know a way how, show me how. But at this point, especially with cryptocurrency and, the decentralized market, this is something that people who are anti-capitalism, this is something that everybody needs to be educating themselves on. If you're talking shit about capitalism and you're not educating yourself on cryptocurrency, I'm just not going to be able to take you seriously. Or if you're talking shit about capitalism and you don't have hella guns and are learning different combat styles, preparing for civil war, I'm not going to be able to take you seriously. You just talking. You're just talking. You're just engaging in mental activity. You are not doing anything active. So I choose to be a capitalist because I want to master this game and I want to benefit from it. Because when I benefit, my entire community benefits. And when my community benefits, my entire lineage and people benefit. And when my lineage and people benefit, everybody that they interact with and impact benefit. And it continues to ripple out. Y'all want to talk about by the block, land reclamation, reparations, all this stuff. Why are you expecting people to give you shit? Europeans do not want to give us anything. They're going to give us as the smallest amount possible to keep us comfortable for another decade. Until we feel like we want to expand a little bit more and have more. But they're the ones, when you live in that paradigm, you're not the one deciding. You're not the one in control. It's like working for an employer, right? Your employer decides your salary. They keep you around by increasing your salary 0.2% every year, or if that. But they're the ones in control. Your level of expansion is limited. But when you become an investor and you learn how to utilize and leverage the money you do have in the markets and benefit from all the other capitalists, but unconscious capitalist people who are just spending, because they're going to do it regardless. So as somebody who has an ethical value of having an ethical relationship with our planet, with the people around us, empowering our community, we're the ones who really need to be learning and investing in our financial education, investing in ourselves so we can leverage all the things that the banks are leveraging to make millions and billions of dollars. It is possible for us to do that as a people. And it is not hard. And it's not inaccessible. It's actually very accessible in this age of Aquarius and in the digital age and the age of AI, where we can do anything and everything from our computer and our phone. I can broadcast this around the world from my freaking office. I don't have to go to a studio. I don't need anything special. So anyways, that was kind of a tangent, but yeah, I choose to be a capitalist because I'm the one who can claim power and control. I'm the one who gets to decide what my limits are. And I decide that I have no limits when it comes to how much money I make and how much I have available to invest in myself and my community and my family. An employer doesn't get to decide that for me. And I respect the people who are employed and, that's good enough for them. If that's comfortable, that meets your needs, you're within your comfort zone and you're cool with staying there, fine. But my spirit came here to be free and to teach as many people as possible to also be free. How are we going to be free without capital? How am I going to travel? How am I going to reclaim land without capital in today's world? There are many people who live off the grid, but you still need to have capital. What, you want to buy some solar panels? You want solar panels? You're going to have to purchase those. You can trade them, but how many massages can you trade until you're giving massages for the rest of your life to pay back all that you traded? There has to be something to exchange. And the easiest thing to exchange is capital. Right now, that's digital capital, cryptocurrency. So I invite everybody who sees this to really think critically. If you're an activist, if you're an artist, think critically about your relationship to money and what that says about your relationship to capitalism. And maybe we can renegotiate and redefine what capitalism means to us as melanated people. Maybe we can decenter whiteness, decenter white supremacy, and focus on us and how we define ourselves and how we define our relationship to material abundance. I have to tell you, I'll end it with this. I am so sick and tired of talking and thinking about white people. I don't care. I don't care. I really don't. I really don't. I live, without revealing too much, I live in the South. I grew up in the South. And, if you're from the West Coast, which I lived in California for 6 years, whenever I told them I was from the South, they'd be like, oh my gosh, there's so many racists out there, right? And they're like, hella KKK. The thing is, there's racists everywhere. You might be racist, the person who's watching this. And the thing is, it doesn't matter to me at this point because you have no power over me. You can call me names. You can, I think it's powerful watching those videos of melanated people at the sit-ins with the white folks taunting them, spitting on them, pouring drinks on them.